your video, we're going to show you how to open your pool up. Where we're taking over here is after we've already got the cover off from the pool and our water level filled back up to our proper operating level, which is approximately halfway up the opening of your skimmer. In the prior portion of the video here, we showed you how to remove the cover and fill the pool at the same time you're removing the cover, so that by the time you get the cover off, your water level should be right where you want it to be. Now, our first place to start is right up here by your pool. We'll grab our little basket of goodies that we had from closing the pool. And the first place we'll start is by removing our plugs from our returns. Simply take a regular screwdriver and fit it to the slots on your winter plug or a pair of pliers, whatever you've got to do to get something on that winter plug, and simply unthread your winter plug. Careful as you're pulling them out not to poke the liner with your screwdriver. We should go ahead and pull those plugs right out. Again, we want to put these someplace safe where we're not going to lose them over the course of the summer. Now we take our return eyeball. Again, we've got two different types. One for the steps or hydrotherapy fittings and one for your pool returns. The type for your pool returns are your three-piece type eyeballs. If they pull it apart, you've got three pieces there. These are the ones that go into your pool returns, unlike the two-piece type, which are going to go back into our step returns. But after we've gotten that winter plug pulled out, we go ahead and it doesn't hurt to hit these with even a little Vaseline or a little grease. It's going to keep them from seizing up on you. And when you go to pull them out next fall, when it's time to winterize the pool, you shouldn't have any problems getting the things to thread back out. We'll just put a little either grease or Vaseline works as well on the threads of that eyeball. That's going to keep it from seizing up on the threads. We'll go ahead and thread those in. Again, keeping our plugs stored someplace. Come to our next return. Remove the winter plug on this one. And again, the type that are in your pool returns are the threaded type plugs. The type that are in your step returns or hydrotherapy fittings are the rubber expandable type plugs. The pool returns just simply thread out, clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. Again, a little Vaseline on the threads of those eyeballs to keep them from freezing up in there. Get him in. Then we go to our step returns, which again, these are the rubber expandable type plugs. There's just a plastic wing nut. Same thing, clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. Loosen that wing nut up. And your plug pulls right out. And then, your eyeballs for your returns. Your eyeball is separate from a threaded ring. There's a flat side to your eyeball. If you look real close, one side's rounded, the other side is flat. Put the flat side in first. Put your return eyeball in. Then on your threaded ring, you look real close, one side has got the slots in it for the screwdriver to remove and tighten. The other side doesn't. Make sure you get those slots to the outside so you can remove it at a later date. And again, a little Vaseline on those threads keeps them from seizing up on you, and that way you never have any problems getting them pulled back out in the fall when it's time to close the pool. So put your eyeball in there first. Again, flat side in first. Then your threaded ring over the top. And none of these, you don't want to wrench none of them down real tight. You want to leave them loose enough that you can adjust them. Adjust your eyeballs up or down, whichever direction you want them. Again, on your return eyeballs, most generally have them pointing up to keep the surface of the water moving towards the skimmer when you've got a lot of debris on the surface. If you've got a lot of debris at the bottom of the pool, dirt sitting on the bottom, direction of downwards to keep the water flow moving and keep the bottom stirred up. Keep them pointing down and keep that water pushing down towards the bottom. Keeps the bottom stirred up, keeps the dirt suspended in the water where the pump and the filter can pick it up. Is that dirt sitting on the bottom, stagnant, sitting on the bottom of the liner and not suspended in the water, there's no way that that pump and filter is going to pick it up. You want to keep it stirred up, so when you got a lot of dirt on the bottom, again, keep your eyeballs pointed down. You got a lot of debris on the surface, keep your eyeballs pointed up and towards the skimmer so that it keeps the surface of the water moving towards the skimmer and gets the debris out of the pool faster. And again, move our other return eyeball. Again, the main reason why we use these rubber plugs in our hydrotherapy fittings is they don't thread in there. And just the same basis is why we're putting the grease on there. I have seen them where them winter plugs seize right up inside those fittings on the steps. And people go to remove them and they usually either bust that ring that seals it or they turn the whole thing out. So again, as you're taking these plugs out, just use some caution that the plug is the only thing turning, not the whole fitting. But a little grease on your threaded ring, flat side of the eyeball goes in first, threaded ring over the top with the slots facing out so they can be removed again come fall. So there's all four of our pool returns are unplugged and eyeballs are back in. Now we come to our skimmer, and regardless, or depending on how you close the pool, whether you drain the water below the skimmer or whether you left the water in there, you've got to pull your plug. If you drain the water out of the pool below the skimmer, all you've got inside your skimmer is the gizmo or winter plug for your skimmer. Simply thread that out. If you left the water level up over the course of the winter and never drained it to winterize, you'll have either this or your plastic 2-liter bottle or milk jug in there. You'll pull that out, and then we'll pull our pipe stand out. Again, those shouldn't have been in there that tight. You only had to put them in hand tight because we put Teflon tape on the threads to make the seal. So we go ahead and pull all this stuff out and put her someplace safe. I'm going to remove all the other stuff here from my skimmer basket. Before we get too far, go ahead and put your skimmer basket back in so we don't get any debris. Any debris gets caught up in the basket and doesn't get inside that pipe and clog your pipe up. Pop your skimmer basket in if you remove your plugs or pipe stands. Now, we take all our stuff we've got left over here. Back over to our pump and filter. Now, we take our 2 pump plugs, which are your little black plugs here, little handles on there to get on with your fingers. If you look real close at these pump plugs, there's O-rings on them to make a seal. Take and put a little Vaseline or again grease on those O-rings to make sure that they make a seal as you tighten them. If these O-rings look cracked and weathered at all, you either replace the O-rings, take it up to a hardware store and find an O-ring that fits, or you can get by without the O-ring if again you put Teflon tape on your threads. What the O-ring does is makes a seal. If you've got no O-ring or you can't find one to replace the one you've got, you can get by with wrapping the threads on these plugs with Teflon tape. And again, anytime you wrap anything with Teflon tape, with the threads facing towards you, wrap them clockwise, 7 to 8 wraps. So here we've got our O-rings, so we're going to go ahead and take a little screwdriver, pull our O-ring off, hit it with a little Vaseline, lubrication, and make it seal. Then reinstall these plugs. Again, there's one at the bottom of your impeller housing here. You feel underneath there, you'll feel the hole. Go ahead and thread that in, and as long as you've got Teflon tape on those threads, or you've got an O-ring that is in good shape and been lubed up with some Vaseline, you don't have to reef these things right down. Just finger tight is all the tighter you need them. Good and snug with your fingers. Again, both O-rings, if they're bad, replace them. If you can't find an O-ring to replace it, wrap the threads with some Teflon tape. But if you do have the O-ring, make sure you put a little Vaseline on it before you install the plug. And again, your other plug is located at the bottom of your pump body. The exact opposite side is where my finger is here. Again, as long as you've got either Teflon tape on those threads or an O-ring that's been lubed up, no need to reef them right down. Finger tight is all you need. Now also, we'll pull our pump lid up, reinstall our pump basket, and there's also an O-ring on top of your pump lid. Right now's a good time to lube that up with a little Vaseline as well. And again, that there, if it's in rough shape, looks weather cracked, you can possibly find one at a hardware store. If not, a stay-rate pump is a very, very common pump, and your local pool dealer is, or should have them right in stock, like I say, because they are a very common pump. Used all over the place. A lot of people use stay-rate pumps, and very, very easy to find parts for. Go ahead and lube that up with a little Vaseline. Put the O-ring back on. Take a bucket of water, gallon or two is all that's needed, and dump it into your pump. Then go ahead and put your lid back on your pump. Filter gel, I like to start out in the recirculate position, so any dirty water that's in those pipes doesn't get forced through your filter until you've got some DE in it. So when you fire the thing back up, make sure we're still in the recirculate position. Now we've got a plug in we've got to put in our filter. Basically, when you close the pool, all your things that you take out of here, your O-rings, your plugs, you keep them all in one basket and try to find a home for everything. And basically, you know you've got everything. If you used everything up, you've got everything plugged back off properly like it should be. And again, on the filter here, the plug for the filter, you've got an O-ring. If it looks bad, replace it. If it's not bad, at least Vaseline it up. And if it's shot and you can't find an O-ring, again there, some Teflon tape on those threads will help it seal. Move it up. Put your O-ring on there or your Teflon tape onto the back of the filter. Now here, you might have some debris. If you have to, take the hose right in here. And on those female threads, get them cleaned right out. Make a better seal again. Make sure you've got a clean surface for your plug to thread in. Now again, either Teflon tape on those threads, an O-ring that's been Vaselined up, something to make the seal. And thread him back in there. And again, as long as you're either Teflon tape or you've got an O-ring on there that's in good shape and been lubed, you don't have to reef these things down that tight. Just a good little snug is all you need. Never over tighten it or you'll end up cracking this whole pipe that runs underneath the filter. Then you've got two more O-rings left in there. The ones that go to your heater. You take and again, Vaseline these up. These ones here, there is no way to just Teflon tape a thread. That isn't going to make the seal. You don't try to seal this ring to this. You were trying to seal the face of this pipe to the face of our heater. So their Teflon tape is not going to work. You will have to have the O-rings and have them lubed up. If they're bad, again, take them to a hardware store and find some replacements of the same size. Them require O-rings. You can't get around not having O-rings on this seal here. Let's go ahead and lube those up. Install the both of them. I say grease or Vaseline is what you want to use. It's non-water soluble. It makes a real good seal, and it keeps them O-rings well lubricated and makes a good seal. Get your O-rings popped in there. Again, if these threads are buggered up with dirt, take the hose over here, spray them up, line your heater back up, and tighten the collars back on. Again, clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. And these here, I usually do give them a little better snug than I do any of my other plugs. Just get a pair of pliers on there. Nice little snug. Try to make sure that as you line these things up, your O-ring doesn't fall out of place. Again, just a nice little snug on those. Then, we've also got this petcock at the bottom of the heater that we open up to let the heater drain. Again, it feels backwards. To tighten it, it is clockwise, but as you turn it clockwise, it looks like this thing's coming out. It'll only come so far, and it bottoms right out. That is completely closed. As they say, as you turn it clockwise, any normal threads, as you turn something clockwise, it threads in. These here, as you turn it clockwise, it threads it out. But that is closing, not opening. As you turn it clockwise, you're closing. As you turn it counterclockwise, you're opening. So turn it all the way counterclockwise until it stops. And again on that, finger tight is all you need. Now, we're ready to start this thing up. Timer tabs, which you pull off your timer, and what I usually do is store them right inside your timer box. You don't want to start your timer up right away because we're going to let this thing run for at least 24 hours before we even set it on a timer. But after we've got all our plugs into our pump, the plugs in our filter, our heater is hooked back up, our plug is shut on our heater, our plugs are out of our returns and hydrotherapy fittings in the steps. All of our return eyeballs are back in. Our plug is out of our skimmer, and our water level in the pool is back up to where it's got to be for normal operations. Now, make sure all of your control valves are in the open position. Drain valve should be open. Skimmer valve should be open. Step valve open. Return valve open. I start out with my filter valve on the recirculate position because you will pull some dirty water, especially out of that bottom drain, and you don't want to run that dirty water through the filter until you've gotten some diatomaceous earth into your filter. So after we've got everything plugged off up here, everything's unplugged by the pool and our water level's back up, we've added a gallon or two of water to our pump. We go ahead and turn our breakers on downstairs and turn your pump on. Now it might take this thing 5-10 minutes to prime. Sometimes it only takes 30 seconds, depending a lot on how far away from the pool you are with the pump and filter. Don't be afraid to let the thing run 20 minutes until it catches a prime. So just let this thing run. If you look at the top inside the lid of the pump here, we will see now water is just slowly starting to trickle into our pump. Let it run until you catch a full prime. When this thing gets a full prime, it's going to look like there's absolutely nothing in there. It's full of water, no air whatsoever. Let it run until it catches a full prime. And there we are to a full prime. Now a lot of times after you've done this, believe me, worms are nasty. No matter how you cover your pool, you'll get a lot of worms in there, and they always seem to collect in that bottom drain. Sometimes as soon as this thing fires up and you catch a full prime, I suggest right off the bat, now that we've got a full prime, shut your pump right back off and clean your pump basket. That closed. And we would go ahead and clean this pump basket, because like I say, there's probably going to be a lot of worms in that bottom drain that get sucked up here, and I mean, they're nasty. They're half decayed, and they'll clog that basket right up. So as soon as you get it fired up and you got a full prime, shut them back off, clean your pump basket out, reinstall your pump basket. Turn this back to the recirculate position. Open your valves. Turn your power. Now I'm going to let it run for approximately 30 seconds or so here. Like I say, just to get any debris and dirty water that's in the piping out of the piping and not into our filter. But if it mixed in a pool, like I say, we don't want all that debris and all that worms and everything going into that filter until we get some DE in there. Once we've got a feeling that we've got all those pipes purged, now I'm going to shut my pump back down again. Bring my filter valve back to the filter position. Turn my pump back on. Now, over the course of the winter, before we closed it, we had backwash or filter. That means right now there's no DE in here. So as soon as you've got this thing back in the filter position and you've got your pump running again, bleed your filter valve. Then we go ahead and open this bleeder valve on the top of our filter, and now we get the water spraying out. Now we can go ahead and reintroduce some DE through the skimmer, like was shown to you prior in your video on how to operate your pool. Like I say, this thing was backwashed over the course of the winter, didn't have any DE in it. As soon as you get it fired back up and in the filter position, bleed your filter and add your DE. Now you want to go ahead and shock the pool as well with your chlorine shock. First thing in the spring, it doesn't hurt to go a double dose. Rather than going just 2 bags, go like 4 to 6. And if you had to add a sizable amount of new water to your pool, it's also not going to hurt to add some conditioner. What we normally recommend is once you get the thing up and running, shock it good, like say 4 to 6 bags of your shot, run your pump for a 24-hour time period, filtering the water. Once you get 24 hours of filtering in, or sometimes even longer, whatever it takes to clear the water of the pool, go ahead and let it run continuous until it gets that water crystal clear. Now we can go ahead and reset our timer back up for our 8 hours a day, the hours again that you use the pool most often. Then I would let the thing go for about a week's time on the timer. Let the filter do its job. Let it take out of the water what it can. Then first thing in the spring, like say if you've had it up and running, you've had it running for the 24 to 48 hours, whatever it's taken for the pool to clarify, set it up on a timer, let it run for about a week's time. Now take a water sample into your local pool store and have them analyze it for everything. You do this one time a year, and it's going to save you a whole world of work during the course of a summer. Get everything adjusted again, because like I say, odds are you've added sizable amounts of new water. That new water that you've added hasn't been stabilized, which is cyanuric acid, conditioner, stabilizer, many names, all the same thing. What it is cyanuric acid, and your new water that you've added to the pool doesn't have it in there. Without that cyanuric acid in the water, your chlorine's not going to erode properly. So this is another thing we can do right after we've got that filter loaded with DE. We can go ahead and load our automatic chlorinator. Again, as we showed you earlier in the video. And go ahead and set it back up and on your adjustment valve And odds are, first thing in the spring, like I say, you're going to shock it good to begin with, and first thing in the spring, that water level, that water temperature is going to be quite cold, and you're not going to be using the pool as often. Odds are, you're not going to have to keep that chlorinated valve as high of a setting as what you do during the middle of the summer when the heat's on and the kids are in and out of the pool all day long. You're not going to be using up as much chlorine during this period of time. Like I say, just mainly because the water temperature is a lot cooler, and there's not as heavy as a bather load. There's not as many swimmers in and out of the pool to keep the chlorine up. So your automatic chlorinator setting is probably going to be lower in the spring and fall than it is the course of the summer. Now, firing the heater back up, if you had a gas shut off, first thing you do is turn your gas back on. Make sure your power's back on in the house, and simply hit your pool on button or spot on, depending on how warm you want it. Like you say, your pool on setting will only let you bring the thing to 86 degrees. We don't recommend much warmer than 88. If you want to get it warmer than the 86, you'll have to use your spot on selection. So then you just simply raise or lower your temperature with your temperature up and temperature down button. As long as your power's on, your pump is running, and your gas is on, the thing will fire up all on its own. And that's all there is to firing the heater. And again, like I say, what we recommend is running the pool or running your pump for a good 24 to 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours after you open the pool to let the pool clear. Shocking it good as soon as you get it open, loading your automatic chlorinator. After the pool is clarified, let it run on timer for about a week's time or so, then take a water sample in and see what kind of adjustments need to be done to your water. Again, I would not take a water sample in as soon as you get that cover off from there, because at the pool stores, they're going to sell you things that you probably aren't going to need. Things to take iron out of the water, or algae out of the water, things that this filter is going to do for you. By letting it run for a week's time, you can let the filter do what it will, do a lot of the work that some of the chemicals they're going to try to sell you. Your filter will do that for you. So let it run for a week's time, let the filter do to the water what it can, then take a water sample in to see where you stand after that. And if you have had to add well water to your pool and you've got a lot of iron or possibly calcium in that well water, and it's caught that pool up, after that 24 to 48 hours that it's taken for it to clear the pool, again, it's not going to be a bad idea to pull this filter apart and give it a manual cleaning like we went through earlier in the video. Sometimes with the well water, the iron or calcium in it will create a hard coating over the interior of these pads in it. Like I say, if you've got real hard, nasty well water, it's not going to hurt after you've gotten the pool cleared out to take that filter apart, clean it out again manually, and then put her back together. And then that's about all there is to opening the pool. Once you're up and running, like I say, you basically can't go wrong on opening your pool. If you forgot to put a plug in here or there, you're going to be, as soon as you start that pump up, you're going to see water spraying out someplace. And as long as you take the time and make sure all your O-rings are either replaced or Teflon taped over your threads to seal things up, you're back in business, ready for the upcoming season. Hello again, and for this portion of the video, we're going to show you how to remove your